We are an amazing community. Yes, we are. Today's title is called You're a Divine Idea. You're a divine idea. And I would venture to say that if you've been in the atmosphere of this kind of teaching or any kind of spiritual path, you've heard that many, many times. And I don't always want to rely on what you've heard many, many times. I actually want to take something that you've heard many, many times and begin to dissect it and to find the juice in it and to find the relevance and the depth in it. So hang on, here we go. So you are a divine idea. So let's say that we're attending some kind of upper level biology class and the professor is telling you about physiology and biology and the value of the muscles that we use to smile. And he might say that when you are told to smile, that physiologically you are emitting endorphins that offer the smiler something equitable to the feeling of union or harmony. So that by doing this, by using those muscles and smiling, that what you do is you let go all of these endorphins that go through your body that bring about a sense of union. And let's say that the professor says that when you frowned, you are physiologically firing off these brain synapses that equate the frowner to a sense of separation. And so after this has been explained, smiling equals union, frowning equals separation, that you and I then as students of this class are given the hypothesis or the suggestion to take the following exercise. Keep smiling. Keep smiling. And you and I can hear that and we could think that that's actually reasonable advice, and so we smile. And it's a good thing, it's a good idea, but here's the deal. It's just a start. It's just a start. For if that smile was invested with the knowledge that by deliberately doing that, that you and I were then aligning ourselves with a deeper loyalty to and an energy of union, that actually from smiling that we were cultivating a definite master thought to offset any unconscious default of separation, then that smile, which would come from that wide range spectrum of investigation, would be you and I living a principle at depth rather than the first example, which is just living by an example or a rule. So there's a difference between doing something at depth, something that has a vast array of knowing to it. And you know that by venturing into something at depth, that it has far more traction and it has far more sustainability and impact than just doing something because it's sort of the generalized rule. For example, if we are told that walking is good for us, if we do something then from that surface component of walking, we might have gotten up this morning and said, you know, that's not such a good idea, and gone back to bed in a warm, toasty thing. But if we were approaching the activity of walking from a place of principle or depth, then here's what that would look like. As I'm walking, I become conscious of my knees bending. I become conscious of my mobility. I might even become conscious that there are other people in this world who don't necessarily have that. And I start to praise and honor the physiology and the symmetry of all of the vascular systems and all of the connectivity that's going on in this framework I call my human body. And as I'm walking, I might add to that a synchronized breathing pattern. And as I'm walking, I might start to give thanks for not only my mobility, but for life itself, for breath itself. As I'm walking, I might take in all of the atmosphere around me and begin to allow my gratitude to unfold for all of the beauty, for the seasonal activity, for the air, for the sky, for the limitless opportunity. I might actually, in my walking, think about my feet and start to do this amazing inventory about how these two things have carried me across this planet for years. I might give thanks in this activity of walking for so much, for the integration of life itself and the mobility that it has taken me from event to event to event to event. Do you see how that kind of framework of walking is different from maybe you should walk a little? So the one that I went in depth and described is walking at depth. It is a principle because what you and I are then applying by doing the walking is an understanding of our connection to the divine idea of mind. That level of walking is connected to life itself rather than just perhaps an offshoot, an assignment, or a rule or something that our doctor said to do. What if it's sobriety? What if you and I, in our path, have stumbled upon this activity of addiction, and so our only resource at this point is to entertain the idea of sobriety? So one might enter into sobriety doing it because it's a generalized rule, but as you're doing your sobriety, as you're going through the inventory of all of those steps, what if along the way you start to think about how this is one big massive refresher course for you as a soul to gain traction again about your reason and your purpose for being? That it isn't just to stop drinking or doing drugs or whatever the addiction is, but that it's actually this divine intervention that's coming in order to catapult you into a life of purpose, a voice of meaning, an instrument of the divine, the ability for you to be this shining example for anyone else that you might come in contact with. Do you see how different sobriety is at that level rather than something that is imposed upon you and you have to do? So there's activities that we do at depth, activities that are equated to principle, and then there are activities that we simply do because perhaps everybody else is doing it, and it doesn't really have any traction and meaning. So surface versus depth. And if I had one prayer in this life in regards to what our mission and vision is just as a spiritual community, it would be that at some point in your journey that you would welcome in and you would abide in the energy of depth. That you would start to look at life as this thing that has such deep resonance, that your life and your talent and your gifts to the world, they're not just there competing with other talents and gifts in the world, but that your talent and your gift has this unique ability to reach people in a way that no one else walking and breathing on this planet will be able to do. If there was one wish, one gift that I would want, is that all of us would be able to open up in consciousness to that idea that I am a soul and my purpose is to live at depth. And so surface again is just sort of abiding through life unconsciously, but depth is realizing that every single moment is a gift. And in that journey from unconsciousness to consciousness, in that journey from surface living to depth living, we have to ask these questions. Who am I? Who am I? I am a creative being. Why am I here? To create. And where am I? In a creative universe. Everything is an aspect of creation. You are a creative being. Your reason for being is to create. And where are you supposed to create? In a creative universe. You've been set up to win. Everything around you is just the energy of creation itself. And how we process then these ideas and information, how we process this and open ourselves up to it, takes us to the depth and the understanding of the principle itself. To live by principle means that you understand what's behind your choice. To live by principle, to live at depth, means that you understand the power of your choice. That you are not helpless. That you are not bound by the past. To live at depth means that in this moment now, this now moment, you have the ability to make something that will completely change the landscape and the quality of the rest of your life. That's how powerful you are. That's the creative process within you. That you have the ability at depth to launch a fresh, new causal belief, causal effect, I can launch a new cause and thus create a different effect. You understand the power that is possessed within dedicated choosing. You understand that because of your divinity, that you actually have this power as this creator force to do these things. You know and understand that you set into motion a whole new relationship with union rather than defaulting to patterns of separation. And so let's look at all of the topics that we are bombarded with all of the time. Self-care. Self-care. What does one do when one approaches self-care from a surface perspective? We might vacillate back and forth from one trend to the next. We might gargle with coconut oil because we saw it on Facebook one week and then get bored with that and then try something else. And those are the things that we just entertain from a self-care perspective on the surface level. But self-care at depth, what does that mean? That means that you literally fall in awe to your knees of how beautiful you are and how necessary you are. You start to see yourself as a walking, living, breathing temple. You start to see yourself as something so sacred and so necessary that you do whatever it takes to honor and care for this self, this thing that you've been given. That's operating at depth. And so when I say that you are a divine idea, you are a divine idea, I want you to be able to take that and move beyond just hearing it from the surface component and start to take it down into depth and to understand what it means to say that you are a divine idea. I am a divine idea. What is an idea? What is an idea? An idea is creation. An idea is sort of this genesis seed that launches into action an aim or a purpose to create something. When you get an idea, I have an idea that I want to create and fix oatmeal for breakfast, so I get up and I do those things. And those are ideas that come to us constantly all day long, and we operate from that surface conditioning. We take the idea and we see it to fruition. But to say that I am a divine idea, what is a divine idea? I am a divine idea. So I, in my human experience, have a lot of ideas, and those ideas get executed. But to say that I am an actual idea myself, that I am a divine idea, then whose idea am I? Whose idea are you? Then you are the idea of that which we call God. You are an idea of creation itself. You are an idea of infinite intelligence. So just like you have an idea to go this particular way in driving to work rather than the other way, just as you have an idea to call a particular person and to make a connection, just like you have an idea that you want to repaint your house, all of these ideas that come to you, you are an actual idea yourself. And you are the idea of what is called creative mind. The way we say that is I am a divine idea in the mind of God. Think about that. The mind of God, the mind of intelligence, the mind of life itself. You are an idea in that mind. And so you as an idea, you are the experience of, you are the vessel, you are the channel by which that divine idea gets to be an idea of creativity in the world. So when you say, I am a divine idea, it's just not a wonderful little surface pithy statement that you are saying in order to make yourself feel good about yourself. And hopefully that's fine, just like smiling does launch into those neurons and those pathways of being in union. But to say that I am a divine idea and really understand what's behind that is to go, oh my God, I am an actual idea held within the mind of that which is the creator itself. Me, I am an idea. You are a divine idea in the mind of God. How does one who is a divine idea in the mind of God react in the world? How does one who is a divine idea in the mind of God, which is you, how do you show up then in your day-to-day activities? So when we start to understand this, we start to look at, where did this come from? How did we first understand that we are a divine idea and not just, some creationist story of people who can't listen, and so we eat apples when we're told not to eat apples? How do we move beyond those types of stale archetypes and realize that who you are cellularly, physiologically, biologically, spiritually, who you are at all those Lee words, who you are in all of that is so profound that you are actually beyond definition. You are beyond definition. Because you are a divine idea, which means that the nature of you is not only divine, but it's infinite. The nature of you is not only divine, but it's infinite, meaning that the nature of you cannot actually be described, because the nature of you is beyond description. That's how potent you are. That's how powerful you are. That's how necessary you are to be in this lineage of divine mind. And so as we begin to wrap our own human thoughts around this, we begin to see the path that is before us. And we start to look at all of the things that we might have engaged in that would have kept us in this surface conditioning or this surface consciousness, rather than diving down into the juiciness of the depth of what it means to live. And so our choice is this: are you ready to go into the depth? Are you ready to then embrace the true divine nature of who and what you are? The greatest influences of our founder, Ernest Holmes, were Jesus the Christ, Thomas Troward, the great metaphysician, and also the transcendentalist Ralph Waldo Emerson. When Ernest Holmes was a young boy, he got a hold of the copy of Emerson's essays, and he said that reading Emerson's essays was like drinking water, that he couldn't get enough of it, because what he was reading were these essays from a movement that called the Transcendentalist movement. Transcending means that these collective people in our North American society were breaking away from the dogmatic rituals and teachings of the church at the time. And they were starting to realize that what they saw and what they connected to and what their epiphanies were on a spiritual level was the fact that everything was God. Not just some idea in the sky, that everything was God, because everything was an example of life. And if everything must be God, then guess what? So are you and I, examples of God. That every cell, every organ, every tissue of us is put here in order to be a representation of God. And so Emerson started to write these amazing essays around that. Probably one of his most famous is the one called Self-Reliance. And when Ernest Holmes was reading these essays as a young boy, it started to validate everything that he was feeling intuitively inside of him. And in Self-Reliance, Emerson says right in the very beginning that the divine idea which each of us represents, the divine idea which each of us represents, is that divine idea known as God. Emerson said that. The divine idea which each of us represents, not just the good people, not just the saintly people, not just the ones who behave and do what it is and act the way that you want them to, but that everyone is a divine idea, and each of us is representational of that. But later in the essay, he said that when we start to look at this, we can understand this, but he says we but half express ourselves. Most of us just half express ourselves, meaning what? That we're not fully understanding the fact that we are a divine idea. And so to half express that you are a divine idea means that a lot of us are just operating at the surface. We're only expressing our divine idea when it's convenient. We're only expressing our divine idea when we have a really good hair day. We're only expressing ourselves as a divine idea when we think that our idea of perfection is finally implementing itself through us. But what Emerson was saying and what metaphysics is teaching us is that it doesn't matter what it is that's happening on the surface, that you at your core are a divine idea. At your core. So he says, Emerson says, we but half express ourselves. He even uses this word. And sometimes we are ashamed of that divine idea which each of us represents. Why do you think Emerson would say that we are ashamed of that? That we are actually ashamed or turning away from the ownership of being a divine idea? And the only thing that I can think of that would cause such a powerful word to pop out of him is the fact that our forgetfulness, you know what that is, right? When we are in forgetfulness, we revert back to an unconscious idea that says that we are faulty, that we are unworthy, that we are not good enough. And so for us to proclaim that we are a divine idea in the mind of God, we have some semblance of shame because at that surface level, we can't see it or believe it. But we are called to look deeper, right? And he says this, and later in Self-Reliance, he says, God will not have his works made manifest by cowards. By cowards. Meaning those of us who run away from the divine idea that we are will miss out on the ability and the potency of being able to manifest that which we say we desire, that which we know that we are capable of. So this is a call today to really begin to look at how you and I are operating in the world. To look and see, where am I just abiding and floating on the surface rather than really diving deep? Our founder, Ernest Holmes, said that the road to self-discovery often calls for the clearing away of the underbrush of ignorance, fear, superstition, and a sense of isolation, which has made us feel that we were unworthy, unheld, and lost. He goes on to say, in the divine providence of good, salvation is unnecessary, but self-discovery is essential. We do not save that which was lost. We merely discover that which needs to be found. What Ernest Holmes is saying is that in this path of living life, the way that you and I live life, we fumble and we stumble and we fall and we forget and sometimes we remember. And in all of this, there is this funneling down or this uncovering to get back to the core of the essential self. And as we do this process and as we get closer to the core of our understanding of who we are, that we realize that it's not about trying to be saved of anything, but that what it really is about uncovering what needs to be seen in the realm of consciousness. So I like the word uncovery rather than discovery, because self-uncovery then, for me, is our best approach at operating at depth. Operating at depth. So how about this? A lot of times we are taught on the surface that we have to look at the faults. We have to name the faults. We have to speak the faults. Sometimes we have to turn and we have to look at all of our mistakes and our misgivings. But what if at the very core, what we actually have the ability to do, our best approach to operating at depth is to turn to something rather than turning away from something? Do you see the difference? Turning to something rather than from something. We can better start the engines of conscious change by turning to the desirable rather than turning from the undesirable. Meaning it is better to build a consciousness of health rather than try to fight an illness. It is better to cultivate the consciousness of abundance rather than struggle against poverty. It is better to develop the inner consciousness of loving harmoniously rather than trying to fight at discord. The divine idea in the mind of God tells us that who you are already is harmony. Who you are already is wholeness. Who you are already is prosperous and abundant. To turn to that rather than continuing to look at the condition and talk about the condition and dissecting the condition, keeps us connected to the condition. But a person who understands that I am a divine idea realizes that the condition is illusion. And so my choice is to understand and to uphold and to take that lesson and to repeat those words. I am a divine idea. I am a divine idea. I am a divine idea in the mind of God. And that by saying that, and by being willing to go at depth with that, begins to alter and change the trajectory of the quality of my life. And so I'm going to ask you to do that this morning. I'm going to ask you to close your eyes and repeat after me. And in this repetition, I just want you to be in observance of you, of your mind. And I want you to see perhaps where mind stops at the surface. And just notice that. Don't beat yourself up about that. But be willing to go beyond the surface and to dive deeper and to tap into the resonance of this and to claim it as an eternal truth. So repeat after me. I am a divine idea. Repeat again. I am a divine idea. Now take a deep breath. And now repeat it again slowly. I am a divine idea. Now take a deep breath. And say, I am a divine idea in the mind of God. I am a divine idea. I am a divine idea. And now take a moment and just pause. And in a moment of stillness, ask yourself, what does it mean to be a divine idea? And what are you, as a divine idea, supposed to create? And what are you, as a divine idea, and by being a divine idea means that you are already primed for success, that you are already primed to win, that you have already won. Just by coming into this life form, you have already won. So because you have already won, and you are a divine idea, what is the action before you that you are to take? And so join me in this prayer this morning. Knowing that I am a divine idea, and knowing that historically and spiritually I have already won. Knowing that my true purpose in life is to uncover and to remove anything unlike my divine idea and to continue looking forward and embracing the infinite potentiality of creation by means of me. Knowing that this is my right and my purpose and my reason for being here. I now dive deep. I move beyond surface living. I move beyond to-do list. I move beyond just merely existing. And I begin to deeply and sacredly value life as me. As a divine idea, I also have a divine calling. And my divine calling is uniquely and wonderfully mine. And even though there are other people who might be doing the same calling, no one will be doing it exactly as I will, because it will be coming from my unique expression. And as I continue to claim and go deep in the understanding of myself as divine mind, then I realize that there are no boundaries that hold me down. There is no such thing as age. There is no such thing as economic brackets. There is no such thing as what has come before me. As the example and the embodiment of divine mind, I am simply a part of the I am. And I am now engaged in life, engaged at depth. And so let us take a deep breath this morning. And let us choose now to understand that we are divine ideas, and that ideas must be expressed. And in the honoring of that expression, we are in the divine flow. And letting this declarative prayer now move its way into the beautiful, receptive energy of law. It says yes. And I speak now and know that both individually and collectively, we uncover now a whole new depth of meaning of what it means to be in this form, in this life, at this time, as a divine idea. Claiming this and celebrating it as so, let us take a deep cleansing breath if we are in agreement. And you anchor this in, and together we say, and so it is.